we're doing this one like this. Week 4 went really well. I think you guys probably saw my before and after that I posted last Sunday. And if you didn't, you can check that out on my Instagram or my Facebook. But every Sunday I will be posting before and after weekly comparisons to show you guys some of the physical changes that I'm seeing, as well as some of the weight changes that I'm seeing as well, along with some whatever, current things that are going on at the time. So this week I traveled from my home to Connecticut to visit my family for the week. Turns out I'm going back to work June 1st. So, it was just kind of like one of those things where I had to come down and take advantage of, being able to be with them now that it's safe to travel, or at least safer to travel. And, had a couple things I had to do. I had to swap over wheels for my car and got my hair done and got my windows tinted, did all the, fun Connecticut things that I do every time that I come down. So, I've had a lot going on this week, and it's a little stressful having to travel with my diet going on. But something that I noticed towards the end of week 4 was that I was just tired. And I do get a minimum of 8 hours. I should say a minimum of 7.5. I'm usually in bed anywhere between 11 and the latest is 1 o'clock now these days, but I'm always up between 7 and 7:30. I set 2 alarms, one at 7, one at 7:30. And, usually I can get right up at 7, but sometimes I have those mornings where I'm a little snoozer, and I'll snooze until 7:30, but I'm usually up and going, coffee in hand, reading or doing whatever I need to do for, to get my day started no later than, 7:45, 8 o'clock. So this week was a little challenging because I did notice my energy levels started kind of tanking at the end of last week, and I wasn't sure if it was because it was my period, but I noticed that the fatigue started coming on towards the tail end of it. And usually I feel personally for myself, my energy levels do end up really coming back about midway through. Usually it's leading up to and the first couple of days that I do experience issues with energy, but I noticed that this was coming after. I actually felt really, really good going into my period this past week, but my energy did start kind of tanking. I felt like I was not sleeping well enough. I was waking up between 3 and 4 to use the bathroom. Usually I could sleep right through. And then even though I was getting adequate sleep, I was still feeling fatigued and not rested. And I wasn't sure if it was because of my period. I wasn't sure if it was because of my diet. And I wasn't sure if it was because I really did start to incorporate more rigorous weight training. Now that the weather is beautiful and amazing, I started taking my training outside more consistently, and I started deadlifting again, and I managed to jerry rig a squat rack out of cut up logs in my backyard, and really, started enjoying lifting heavy again. I'm very lucky to have an Olympic bar. It was actually gifted to me. I just found that out too, and it's amazing. A bar regular of mine helped me out during all of this and let me borrow an Olympic bar. I have a set of 35-pound plates. I have a set of 10s and 2 sets of 5s. And then I got 5-pound weights, 8 pounds, 10 pounds, 15, 20, and 25-pound dumbbells. So I was like, oh my God. So not only did I have that stuff, but I also have a pretty decent resistance band set up as well. I have some of the longer loops that I can use. I have the glute bands, and I also have the whole doorway setup where I can stick it in a doorway and use that. So I have a pretty solid setup. And, once I got those weights, I was like, oh my God, I'm in. So I started going outside, and I started, focusing on getting my strength back with my squats and my deadlifts, since it's been some time since I have performed those, just like everybody else. And so I wasn't sure if maybe the reason why I was feeling so tired was because of perhaps that, incorporating that training again. But by Monday, so now we're kind of going into week 5 a little bit. So this is going to be kind of a blend of week 5. Going into week 5, Memorial Day. So I came down on Sunday, and then the weather here in Connecticut just, per usual sucked. And I had like all these plans to like get things done Monday, like, in terms of work, especially because the weather sucked. I was like, oh, I can use this time to like get homework done, whatever, and like enjoy the rest of the week. And I couldn't. I was just exhausted. And I knew it had to have been because I was ready for a refeed or a diet break. And so I decided that this week I was going to do a week-long diet break. This is the first time that I've ever done a diet break on myself. I've only ever really done refeeds for myself in the past. And really since the last time that I have been through this process on my own, diet breaks just kind of started coming more of a popular technique to use during dieting to help offset some negative metabolic adaptations. And one of some of those observations that we could make to kind of indicate that that's what we're experiencing is exactly what was happening to me last week with not feeling rested, tiredness, disrupted sleep. Stress was high. Oh my God, stress was so high. And it was because really I had just like had so much stress in anticipation of my trip down here. Not because like, it's very difficult for me to, literally uproot my life and come here. One, because I love where I live and it's hard for me to leave. But two, because, I have to bring my schoolwork with me. So that's, notebooks, books, and I have more than one for both classes. I need my computer. I need obviously to bring my backpack with, my planner and, any supportive materials that I need for that, pencils, pens, all that stuff. I did bring my camera and my tripod, although it doesn't look like I'm going to be using that this week, which is fine. I'm happy that I brought it, but it is what it is. My food, I'm dieting, so I need to make sure that I have my own food. And on top of it, when I come and stay with my parents, like they have so much snack food in the house, and it definitely is challenging for me to avoid that. And just, it just becomes very difficult for me to adhere to what I know is best for me dietarily when I'm here. And so, obviously by bringing my own food, I'm setting myself up for greater success and reducing the likelihood that I'm going to, end up consuming foods that maybe aren't going to agree with what I'm trying to do, or just honestly not make me feel good, just in terms of my own health. So, my family is lactose intolerant, so they do consume a lot of like the dairy-free cheeses and foods like that. And I also used to eat that too when I wasn't eating dairy, when I was, trying to get better from SIBO. But now that I'm not really dealing with that anymore and I'm able to incorporate dairy back into my diet, not that it's really necessary for me. I do a little bit. I do a little bit of feta or goat cheese every single day. If I have to, I will do cream in my coffee, but I've not had to do that. Only if I really grab coffee like on the road to go, because normally you're not going to find almond milk. You'll find creamer. I can get away with that. And if I feel like having, cheese on my burger or something, if I go out to eat, is really the only times that you'll find me eating dairy. I really try to avoid overly processed foods like the dairy-free products that my parents carry here, but a lot of what they make does incorporate foods like that. And so stuff like that could really easily actually disrupt me. It's so funny. Foods that used to at one point help me really do work against me now. So it's just best for me to bring everything that I need for my, own nutrition. So I had literally an entire, like this huge lunchbox on wheels that I brought with me, and also like a reusable bag full of stuff too. And, everything that I eat, I posted a note on my Instagram story of everything that I was bringing with me last week. And I brought everything with me. I mean, all of the fruit that I eat, my eggs, I brought my almond milk, I brought spinach, asparagus, tomatoes, potatoes, peppers, lettuce, my chicken, I brought beets, I brought bananas, oranges, blueberries, strawberries, my Kalamata olives, my feta cheese. I brought this goat yogurt that I got from the farmer's market last weekend. I mean, I brought all that stuff, and it's a lot. I did bring a set of dumbbells with me, but I didn't get to use them this week, that's okay. I did get my running in though. And then obviously like my dog. Not to mention all of my stuff, like my clothes. And then, you never know, like, what am I going to wear? Am I going out? Am I not going out? Am I going out in the lake? Pajamas, socks, my gym clothing. Even though I didn't go to the gym, I still made sure I ran. My sneakers for that. Then I'm like, okay, well, I want to bring flip-flops too, but what if my feet are cold? But it's a mess. So I end up like bringing so much crap, and it's just like so stressful, but it's literally everything that I need. So I had a lot of stress towards the end of last week because of all of this. And those were just some really big indicators for me that I was ready to try to do something. So Monday, I stuck to my diet, hit my macros 100%. And then I decided that I decided Tuesday that I was going to try and do more of a refeed and see how I felt after that. And I did. I felt better. And then Wednesday I ended up going to a winery with my mom. And so, I had to make some adjustments there to make sure that I was accommodating for the amount of alcohol that I was consuming. But I ended up like, oh my God, I actually drank a lot. We split a bottle of wine. We went to Hawk Ridge. I can never say this right. Hawk Ridge Winery. I have like issues with like R's sometimes. Hawk Ridge Winery. Ridge Winery in Watertown, which is an amazing place. If you live in Connecticut and you've not been there, it's like, I think, one of my favorite places to be. We sat outside and it was wonderful. We split a bottle of wine there, and then I ended up going out to dinner with a few of my friends, and I had an espresso martini, and then I think I had 3 glasses of wine. It may have been 4, but I'm pretty sure it was 3. So I drank a lot, but I made sure that I structured the rest of my food well around that. So I typically, when I do things like this, I like to make reductions in my carbs because I find that it's easiest for me to control that when I'm eating out. So I make reductions in carbs and will eat more protein and obviously like less calorically dense vegetables like, spinach and tomatoes and stuff like that. So for lunch, I ended up having a watermelon salad with goat cheese on it, and I got some shrimp on that. For breakfast, I just had a couple of eggs and some egg whites, and for dinner, I had a half roasted chicken with vegetables. It had like a couple of potatoes in it, and 1 stuffed mushroom for my friend's appetizer. So I did really well with my food that day. I made sure I got as much protein in as I could, since everything that I ate that day, with the exception of breakfast, was dependent upon what I was eating out. And just to make sure that calorically I wasn't blowing myself out of proportion with the amount of alcohol that I was eating. And I didn't track anything. Nothing went in my app that day. But that is a really great example of how you would structure your eating around alcohol consumption. So that's what I did Wednesday. And then Thursday, I ended up back on my eating, and I wanted to kind of see how I went. And then I ended up meeting my macros. And then my mom was like, oh my God, let's make frozen margaritas. So I made my sister's boyfriend, Josh, and my mom and I, frozen watermelon margaritas. And then they wanted banana coconut ones, so I made them that, and I only have like a little bit of that. So technically I did go over my calories that day as well. Or was that Tuesday? I think that may have been Tuesday. But so I decided that this week was going to be a little bit more flexible. Yesterday, I did try to get back on track. My mom made homemade pizza, so I had a couple of slices of that. I did try to track that as best as I could. So, this week is much more flexible. I'm calling it a diet break because for the most part, considering my alcohol consumption on top of my regular eating, I'm likely in my maintenance calorie range, which I've calculated to be in, depending on my activity level. I'm estimating it's between 21 and 2,300 calories. So with alcohol, I'm probably up around there. And my weight, I brought my scale. I was not going to bring it, but I thought it would be important, especially if I'm doing something like this, to make sure that I am doing this correctly. And thus far, I have maintained my weight anywhere between, my fluctuations have been between 142.8 and 143.6. So I'm staying right between there all week, which is really a great sign. It means I'm maintaining and, not overdoing myself, and still enjoying the flexibility, still enjoying being out, going out with my friends and my family and having a good time. And as much as I'm mentally, I kind of feel like a little freaked out about it. Like I feel a little fluidy. Could have a lot to do with the alcohol and, just kind of eating more. And mentally, I'm doing okay with it though, especially because I know I'm maintaining. I'm not really seeing any differences visually. I might be a little watery, but my clothes that have recently started to fit me again are still fitting, which is great. And I'm almost at the end of this week and almost back to my regular routine. So I'm pretty proud of myself. I really did need this, and I feel a lot better, and I'm ready to get back on my shit when I get home. I'm probably going to keep my calories right where they have been. I will see how it goes for the following week, just to see if I see any progressions further down in the right direction. And depending on where I'm at next week, at the end of next week, I will potentially make another adjustment. So we'll see what happens. My goal is to be done with this. I think I can be where I want to be before the end of June. Pretty confident in that. I'm feeling really good now where I am. So if you guys remember, I don't really have a weight goal. It's more of like how I feel and how I look. I do know that I've put on a good amount of muscle over the past year, eating at higher calories and putting in some pretty solid work in the gym, and definitely seeing how that's changed my body composition. I'm not 100% where I want to be at the moment, but clothes are starting to fit me again. I'm starting to feel more like myself. I'm feeling comfortable again, and I'm excited. I know I'm pretty close to where I want to be. So, I think that about wraps it up. So this is kind of like a week 4, week 5 meld together. It happens. So the next episode that I do will I don't know if I'll do another one for week 5. We'll see what happens. I have 2 exams this weekend. I just took one of them and I passed, so I'm excited for that. But I have a biochem exam, and I had a whole lot of other stuff to do, and on top of onboarding a couple of new clients, which is really freaking exciting. I'm super stoked you guys are loving this content that I've been putting up, and I really appreciate it that you guys are loving it. So just have had a lot going on. So, and then I go back to work on Monday. But apparently we are being able to open indoor dieting, which is really exciting. My gym opens on Monday. That's exciting. I don't know if I'm going to rush back. I think it might be like a rainy day thing. I'm really enjoying training outside. It's like really nice. Obviously, my log squat rack isn't the safest thing in the entire world, but it works and it's fine, and I haven't died yet. So it's great. Well, guys, I think that about wraps it up for this week. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, leave them below. Subscribe, do all that stuff. You know what the deal is. You guys have an awesome week and weekend, and I will talk to you guys next week. Woo! Take care.